get, SK?
Why not us, Troy?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
All right, we are happy to be joined by Cam Young. Cam, after a couple of little delays here with my Riverside internet situation, we have finally made it here for the third time. So again, Cam, we are thankful for you to take the time to join us today. And I can tell, just as a dad of two, how difficult and how challenging and how fun life can be during the holidays, especially during the off season. Just talk about your family, how much fun it's been to be at home during this off season, but also the craziness that I'm sure that ensued during this past holiday season.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our house is always busy. We've got a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 18-month-old girl. The two older ones are boys, so they're certainly active. But yeah, I mean, the holidays is a great time. It's time where I feel like I can really try to step away from practicing a little bit and be just really present at home. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, they're with me all the time traveling really, but to be able to kind of work on my own schedule and really spend some good time at home has been great. Just watching them change and grow. And every time you get to you get back to Christmas and I think about what they were a year ago and seeing how much they've grown up and it's a lot of fun just watching them change and see just how their personalities kind of develop through those first few years.
Any fun Christmas presents that Santa happened to bring that maybe have brought even more craziness to the house?
he was pretty lazy this year, to be honest. They're still so little. They're just excited to rip the paper. And so we usually go with they needed some new pajamas and some clothes. Mm-hmm. And we got them their own little suitcases that they can kind of roll around.
There you go.
So just some simple stuff. They really don't care. I mean, they're just excited to come out and see. Like we got to the point we built with their Legos. We built them like a little setup. It was very mediocre, but even something like that, they're just excited. Like the elves built your Legos with you, so it was fun.
That's fun. Well, at least Santa didn't have to maybe build a trampoline at night, so that's good to hear.
No. I built 2 pedal bikes, but built is a strong word.
How did that go?
I had things into place, and that was about it.
I had a bunch of friends sending me pictures of them building kitchens the night prior, and it was the sheet just was insane. It looks like a textbook, and just the amount of pain that some fathers had go through that night can be a little challenging.
Yes, we haven't gotten to the real complex stage where there's anything big involved, but we've built plenty of that kind of stuff over the last couple of years. It definitely is a pain, but it's worth it for like the hour that they
Yes, 100%. Well, it sure is fun to be at home during the off season, spend time with family, and in most of these interviews, Cam, I always like to try to go back to not quite the beginning, but to where I feel like the most pivotal time was for this player. And for you, going back and looking at your career and seeing, of course, you had all this success at Wake Forest. You had a great team there with Willie Z and had a bunch of success. And so I was sitting there just kind of going through the calendar of, okay, he finishes 2019. I was like, oh, man, that was right around COVID. And so I'm thinking, okay, how did your journey get impacted by COVID-19 and trying to get on the PGA Tour? And boy, oh boy, I did not realize that you were just right in the thick of it, man. You had Canadian Tour status, but that whole tour got canceled.
Correct. Yeah. So Canadian Tour Q Spool, it was March 2020, and it was the same week as the Players. So it started on Tuesday. Final round was Friday, and Thursday was first round of the Players, and then it was canceled. They didn't play Friday, and that was our final round. And the way I understand it was nobody running that tournament was quite sure what to do. They hadn't received orders to do anything, so we just played on Friday. And I ended up winning the tournament, so I earned full Canada status. And had I not eventually made my way onto the Korn Ferry Tour later that summer, I wouldn't have made a Canada start for almost 18 months after I got my status there. So
moly.
Yeah, it ended up working out great. I mean, it probably saved me a year or two. Who knows?
Yeah, it did. But I mean, I just think about 18 months later, dude, you were playing at the Tour Championship, in the President's Cup. Yeah. So it was actually
Probably saved you
COVID-19.
5 years. Who knows?
Who knows? I mean, there's been so many great players, Cam, that of course have come out of college
Yeah.
and that have been world beaters that have taken forever to get to the PGA Tour. Some guys never even made it to the PGA Tour. So your journey is super, super interesting. And I want you to tell me about that summer of Monday qualifying for Korn Ferry Tour events. Just tell people what Monday qualifying is all about and how frustrating and difficult that process is.
Yeah, it's not an easy road. I mean, like you said, there's so many talented players that just don't find their way out there. And I think it's one of those things that takes some good fortune and some good timing. And, in my case, it just worked out that way. I played Monday qualifiers most of that summer and got all the way to the last one. It's one of those things. You go shoot 66 in the third group out of the day. And
I did it, man. I understand.
Yeah. I remember one in particular in I think it was Briggs Ranch in Texas.
Yep.
And I think I shot 65 like the second group out, and there were already 4 63s. So it was just one of you had no chance unless you shot 9, 10, 11 under.
Oh my God. Did you qualify for any before? We'll get to the one in Omaha, but before that, did you qualify for any other Mondays?
No. I had gotten through a US Open sectional, which is a kind of a different animal, but really until then I hadn't played in any, major professional event on a kind of a PGA Tour sanctioned tour. And eventually got to Omaha, the last one of the season, the last Monday qualifier. And I think I shot 8 under 64. Yeah. And kind of immediately, I'm like, okay, well, that's not going to do it. Just based on my experience that summer, it just felt like, okay, I played well, but that didn't feel that hard. There's going to be 5 people that shoot 10. And kind of, so I waited around all day. I sat in the parking lot for hours, and finally, started looking pretty good with a few groups left, and got in. And it's actually my current caddy, Kyle. I called him because I had been joking with him all summer. Hey, if I get into something, will you caddy for me? And of course, he said yes. He was playing himself, and but I called him on Monday afternoon and said, hey, can you meet me in Omaha, Nebraska? And
oh my gosh!
So caddied for me for a couple of weeks, and strung together 4 really good tournaments, and got myself conditional status or special temporary status, I suppose.
So
it was.
How many events do you think you played Monday qualifying? Do you think you played, more than 5 during that summer?
Yeah, I would say I probably played high single digits. I probably played 6 or 8.
Okay, so can you run through just what those costs kind of looked like and just the operating cash that you had that summer to kind of go play with? Because I had read that you were probably maybe you were planned out 2 more weeks before you were potentially writing letters to the membership at Sleepy Hollow trying to fundraise a little bit. I mean, you were right up against it, man.
I was out. Yeah, I was out of cash. It is expensive. I mean, the entry fees are expensive. Travel's expensive, even if you're trying to do it cheaply. I split hotel rooms with my college teammates. I found the cheapest flights I could for the most part, and it just is expensive. And unless you've worked for a number of years, not many people coming out of college have much money to their name. And I didn't have a job. I never worked. I practiced, so I didn't have much money. And thankfully, we're very lucky. Sleepy Hollow was incredibly supportive of my father and of my career. And I don't think I would have even had to write a letter. There were already some people kind of lining up to help me out, which I'm incredibly grateful for looking back, and also grateful I never had to make that ask. Just because I feel like as soon as you start taking that on, there's just another layer of pressure that you don't want to have. And there's plenty of it on you already. And
totally,
for me, that would have been, I think, difficult. So to get in when I did, and to never, in that first, there were plenty of setbacks, but I never felt like I was going backwards. I wasn't, from that point on, I wasn't running out of money. I wasn't, struggling to keep a card. I was kind of fighting my way up, and I never felt like my back was against the wall again after that.
much as the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Basically, my co-host on Game Time Decisions, Josh Doan, is featured so much. And I also want to say this basically now confirms we are the premier Josh Doan network in all of sports media. No way no other show mentions Josh Doan as much as this one. Is that a success? Is that a failure? I don't know, but I think it's true.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
But I remember being 16 in high school, being in my school uniform, long pants and a tie, and I deadlifted 200 kgs, so that's 440 pounds. So yeah, so that was I actually have a video of it, so it might get leaked somewhere. Someone might be able to find that one.
We might need to get that one to B-roll the show with.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
It just kind of opened the door to a new possibility. I feel like all of a sudden I
Yeah.
had another new opportunity, and that was to get a PGA Tour card. So, to do that at that time when I had kind of just enough time left in the season where it was then feasible to get into that top 25 and earn some status. It was, just like I said, it takes some good fortune and some good timing. And for me, that was just as good as it could have gotten.
Yeah, and of course you win back-to-back weeks. You end up getting a PGA Tour card. Just playing a season and a quarter on the Korn Ferry Tour, did you find that your game wasn't quite as good on this tour with just the shorter golf courses? We just talked to Aldrich Potgieter last week about how challenging it sometimes is for longer players to feel like maybe their weapons are kind of diminished a little bit. Did you get a feeling and a sense of that too? Was it ever frustrating being on the Korn Ferry with that?
I would say a little bit. I mean, you just get a little different style of course, kind of like you said. I mean, from what I remember, there's a lot more courses where there's trouble left and right. On the PGA Tour, you get not necessarily more wide open, but more rough and less penalty tricks.
Yeah.
And that was kind of where I struggled at that time was keeping it in play all the time. And so I think it does have some impact, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be good enough to compete on the PGA Tour, you can figure out how to get it around somewhere you don't love. So I think it was, one of those things where if I had to do it now, I think just mentally I would be a lot better prepared to kind of adapt to that. And at the time it was just frustrating. It's like, why can't I, I wish I just hit it 280 and straight, and I didn't. I hit it 318 and all over the place. So it kind of took some fortune to line it up and have a good week. And it shows in the results too. Like some of the places that I played well, like that second win, the Glen Club, is a lot less, penalty strips. It's a lot more kind of fescue.
Is that the one in Chicago?
And rough. Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah, I played that one year. It's like Northwestern's golf course.
Yeah, it was a really cool spot. We played it in 35 degrees and pouring down rain, which was great. But yeah, so it does show. I think if you look back at the courses where I played poorly, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's, I didn't know how to manage myself. But it did end up working out, and
Yeah, he gets the PGA Tour.
Thankful to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, he gets to the PGA Tour. And, man, do you ever go back and just look at that season and just look at your results and be like, man, life came at me so quickly that rookie season?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, first off, how good a golf were you playing that rookie year? I mean, you had, I think it was up to like 7 top threes. You know, you were in contention to 2 major championships, being the PGA and then also the Open Championship. You had other runner-up finishes, you know, beginning of the year in the fall, that wraparound and Jackson going up against Sam Burns, and then the Genesis, which is one of the best, like, you know, PGA Tour events coming out as a rookie. Like, man, I get into this and get in contention there. Was that where it like kind of sparked the confidence, was leaving LA, or did you already kind of have it leaving Jackson?
I would say I definitely had some of it leaving Jackson. I really felt like I not necessarily should have won, but I was right there and had every chance to win. And to me, that was just kind of evidence that if I stuck to what I did and trusted that, I was at least going to put myself in position, you know, on a somewhat regular basis. I felt like, because I didn't feel like I did anything special that week. I just avoided some mistakes, you know, and played some good golf. It wasn't like I made everything in sight. It wasn't like I was, you know, doing anything crazy. It was good golf. And to me, you know, that's not necessarily one of the biggest events of the year, but you know, there's plenty of good players in the field, and it's a good, solid, straightforward golf course. So I felt like even though maybe it's not one of the fields that you would have said is an elite field, it still felt to me like if I could play that kind of golf on that golf course, I could do it a lot of places. And then, like you said, Riviera is huge. I mean, that's about as big of a stage as you get in a non-major. And I've, you know, ever since then, I've just loved it there. I think that it's just kind of was a perfect match. I was playing great. I like the golf course, and you know, to hang around the lead for that long with Joaquin doing what he was doing that week.
It was a shootout that week, wasn't it?
It was ridiculous. I
you shot
remember,
like 62 one day, didn't you? Shot like
I think on
662.
And I was 4 back. I don't even remember.
I
just remember making the turn on Saturday, and Joaquin made 2 on number 10 to get to 21 under. And I didn't know what to say. Yeah. I mean, it was crazy.
A par 70, right?
Yes, I think maybe 71.
71.
71. Yep. So he
Still
shot 16 under the first 2 rounds, and then was 5 under through 10.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of something you don't really do there. So I mean, yeah, it is one of those. It's, you know, looking back, I played great, and you know, I haven't had a result as strong since then there. I think I've had a couple around 20th. But I mean, it's just a place that I feel like I'm always going to have some kind of chance. I love it there, and I think it suits me pretty well.
And when I look at the rest of your rookie season and just winning in general, I think about this all the time. First off, like, to win golf tournaments, you have to be in contention, like on the back nine, of course. And sometimes, like, you need a little bit of luck. Like, you need some guys to play poorly, and then you need to take advantage of other guys playing bad. Other days, it's like 4 guys are running and playing well, and you have to go and shoot 31 on the back nine.
Yeah.
I feel like when I look at your rookie season as a whole, I feel like you had moments where you kind of experienced it all. Like, you had days in which you played good enough to win golf tournaments and didn't win. And then you had other days where, like, you had opportunities to win and it just didn't quite work out for you down the stretch.
Yeah.
How frustrating was it after that season being like, man, I just, you know, I got in contention major championships and had this incredible season and make the tour championship, get invited to be on the President's Cup. But then you're like, I don't have any trophies in the cabinet. What the heck happened? Like, you know, it had to be so annoying.
Yeah, it's definitely some of both. I mean, you hate to look at it that way, but it's kind of an unavoidable feeling, you know, to have. It's exactly what I said. Someone asked me at the PGA Championship, you know, when are you going to win a tournament, basically? And I said, I don't know. I mean, I played okay today, and I'm sure one of these times I'll shoot 31 on the back nine, like you said, and win. And I went to the British Open, shot 31 and lost by 1. So I'm just someone that shot 30. So it's just one of those things. I mean, it does have to line up. It does take some fortune.
Well, if you check the FanDuel Sportsbook immediately after the Mets traded for Freddie Peralta, you will find that in the National League East, the New York Mets are plus 160 on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win the East. That's followed by the Philadelphia Phillies at plus 200, and the Atlanta Braves are right there as well. And then, of course, you have the Marlins and then the Nationals after that. The Mets are favored to win the NL East. Buy or sell. The Mets, George, will win the National League East this season. Buy or sell.
So defensively, this team's going to be a nightmare. Pitching, yeah, okay, I like Peralta. I like McLean. But Craig, can McLean go 150, 170, 180 innings? Don't know. We'll see. And they have good depth there. Peterson, Sanger, blah, blah, blah. Everything they go there. Are they going to win it? No. Wow, I'm going to sell this. It's not so much that I'm down on the Mets, but Philly's still a good team. All right? Atlanta, a good team. I think Atlanta is one pitcher short of being that team. All right? And maybe they're a team that gets Gallen or gets Framber Valdez. Even those guys aren't the same they used to be. Atlanta seems to be a number one. Can they be a 4 or 5? Yes. And I think I would like Atlanta a whole bunch here. So it's not a knock on the Mets. I think they're a playoff team. I just don't think they're going to win the division. So I'll sell.
I am with George. I think that the Braves are being supremely underrated here. Like, this is a team that easily could win the division. Would they make another signing like that? I don't know that they would. Philadelphia's perspective, are the Phillies as good as last year? They don't, Zach Wheeler, gone for now, I guess. Is he okay? Can he pitch? Ranger Suarez, not there. Dallas Garcia, that's the big ad for the Phillies. So I think it's going to be close, but I don't think it'll be the Mets.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Felt like it affected me too much, but looking back, I probably had a little bit too much added pressure to myself of having really high expectations. Did you struggle with that in your sophomore season on the PGA Tour at all? Just wanting to, crave to get into that contention and win golf tournaments?
I don't know if it was necessarily unique to that year. I think it's something that I've probably struggled with since I was a kid. I expect a lot of myself, the people around me, and I think it's one of those things that does push you forward, but if it gets going the wrong way, it can do the opposite as well. So yes, I did struggle with that, but I don't think it's necessarily unique to that year, and I don't think it really explains kind of the downtick in golf. I think there's probably a bunch of reasons, and maybe that played a part, but I really don't think that that's a kind of a unique feeling for me for that year. It's just something I've always had. I have very high expectations of myself now, as I always have. And I think it's a strength in a lot of ways, but you have to learn to manage it like anything else.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask is how have you been able to manage that, over the last couple of years to not get too low or get too down on yourself? That's something that I was my biggest critic. Got so frustrated with myself so often, and sometimes it would make me get in my own way. And so I'm just curious how you've been able to kind of manage that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination of things. For one, kind of, and not even actively managing the expectations, but I had 2 years, my second and third years on tour, I would classify as mediocre. Yeah. I made it to the BMW Championship both times. I finished kind of mid 40s in FedEx. I had a chance to win here and there, but not like the first year. And I think having that experience kind of, and I said this after the Wyndham Championship in an interview, was I started playing worse golf, and I was much more grateful for the times that I was playing well. So I think taking those opportunities for granted probably doesn't help kind of on the expectation side. If you get there and you're like, okay, this is, it should feel business as usual, but this is what I expect every time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps, as opposed to, okay, I'm 3 shots back on Sunday morning. Like, this is a great position to be in. I'm thankful that I've played the golf I have to get here, and I'm looking forward to trying my best today, So yeah, I think it's a combination of that sentiment, and then also kind of changing where my expectations lie. We've worked a lot on that over the course of this last year. In terms of just, you could set expectations on, I expect to finish top 10 every week. Or you could say, I expect to execute my process to the best of my ability every shot, every day. And I think that second one is much more effective. And that's kind of what we worked on, is trying to create processes, create belief in those processes, and just expect that I can do that, because that's in my control. I mean, you start getting angry and getting fast.
Yeah, totally.
That is under your control. Have a bite to eat, take a breath, and kind of go back to the process that you've put in place for yourself. So I've tried to change my outlook on that toward things I can control, which is not always execution and results. It's process and preparation. And if I can do that to the best of my ability, the golf should be good. Maybe it won't be, but it should be. And that seemed to play out over the second half of this last year.
Did you ever observe any other players that you were able to kind of take a little bit of something, whether it be that mindset and just watching somebody just run their process time and again, and feeling like maybe that they never got too high or too low? Is there any other players that you felt like you're like, man, I need to just kind of get into a little bit more of how they run their routines?
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch that come to mind. I think Scotty Scheffler has something special about the mental side of the game, obviously physically as well, but you can't, I feel like you can't perform at that level and execute that highly, no matter what your skill level, unless you are kind of special between years. So I think, he's someone that I watch, and that's all it seems like he does to me. He doesn't, I don't feel like he's ever trying to do anything special. I don't feel like he's really ever trying to force anything. I just see him step up and try to make a good swing all the time. He just,
easier said than done, right?
He does, for sure. I mean, it's your head can get in the way. It's a powerful thing. But he seems to do that better than just about anybody to me. And I'm sure that is a contributing factor to the reason to how he executes on such a regular basis.
It's an absolute superpower, and
yeah,
it feels like you said the mind is a powerful thing, and I could not agree more, because it's so easy for doubt to creep in, and it just comes in randomly, and you never know when it's going to come. Some days you have more of it, some days you have less.
You got to get on a bus, then you got to get to the hotel, all right? You got to check into your room. You got to go through all this crap. It's like, yeah, it's done for you, but it's still not like, you're still sitting there. You're still in traffic. Yeah, you're still like, it's still 2 a.m. You still want to be in bed, right? You're like, oh my God, I'm on some highway in Calgary right now. It's 3:30 in the morning, and we're playing against the Canucks tomorrow, right? Like, it's not as smooth as people always think.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. There's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Hey, Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good. But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like, he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
In reality, you and I could coach Josh Allen to 11 wins. Like, it's not that monumental of a task, right? I mean, Josh Allen alone gives you 9, if not 10 wins, just because he's on the field. So we're not asking for much here. The real question is can he coach somebody? Can somebody coach them through the playoffs and make critical decisions that open the door for them to get past certain opponents?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
And when I looked at your stats over the last couple of years, if there was a place to nitpick during those years you would call mediocre, the stats that jumped out to me was the putting. Now, when you go look at it as a whole, you had, very positive weeks. It just felt like it was fairly inconsistent. Like you would have a pop week and then you'd have kind of 2 off. For you, like over those 2 years, what do you feel like you were working on in your processes to be able to get to a point in 2025 where you showed so much improvement? Sometimes things like, it doesn't happen overnight sometimes. Like what were some of the keys for you to kind of get you over the hump to where consistency started to come?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of experimentation through those couple of years. I tried basically every grip under the sun to get rid of, any kind of like hesitation or, anxiety over the ball. And I was able to do that. Like, I putted claw and I never had any issues really. I just wasn't great. And I feel like I always came back to thinking that my best putting weeks were conventional. And so it just took me a couple of years to get through, thinking that maybe I couldn't do that anymore, that I had to put claw or I had to put cross-handed or whatever it was. And it just took some experimentation to get back to that, and then also get to a place mechanically where I didn't have the same feelings, and I also was comfortable doing what needed to happen to move the putter properly. So I don't think it was necessarily flipping a switch and all of a sudden I was a great putter this year. It was a lot of things I learned over the course of those 2 years. We went through a period of trying to make aim point perfect, and I'm a bit kind of number oriented. I've always been decent at math and like that kind of thing, and I tried really hard to figure it out and try to make it exact, and I just couldn't. And looking back, I mean, it was, to me, such a ridiculous thing to try to do. I mean, you can't measure perfectly. You don't know exactly how far you are from the hole. It was kind of insane to try to actually go through and make it work.
Yeah.
And that was some of the struggles, was in the process of trying to do that. And
so you're just thinking, just thinking so much. Like you're not really in that flow creative state. You're almost just very hands-on, like scientific.
Almost. I was trying to figure out a way that I could not misread a putt, and it doesn't happen. So some of it is kind of abandoning that. Some of it is on the mental side, just becoming more accepting of what happens, realizing that putting can be stupid. You can hit the best putt, twice in a row, and one of them misses left, one of them misses right, and it's not because you hit a bad putt or you read it wrong. It just didn't go in. So some of it's that, and then some of it is just purely mechanical. I'm just mechanically better than I was. And
what were the mechanics? What were some of the changes that you guys worked on?
It's all set up, really.
Always is, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much
for good players. It always seems
pretty
to
much where you put your head, and making sure that you're square. It's nothing complicated. It is one of those things that takes time to make it comfortable. I think, and if you're not comfortable at putting on a golf course, you're thinking about mechanics and you're not thinking about rolling a ball at a target. And for me, it just took all that time to kind of accept what I already knew about the setup and take the time to make it work. So it was, it's one of those things, like you said, about kind of having some performance anxiety. Like, when I first started putting conventional, it was honestly the perfect storm. I started this past year at the Cognizant Classic. And first hole of the day, I started on 10. It's kind of a dogleg right par 5. Hit it in the fairway. I think I hit in the fairway. Anyway, I ended up just over the green to the back left pin. Chipped it like 4.5 feet by. And that first putt of the day is like uphill into the grain, a little bit right to left, which for me is always where I felt like I struggled. Yeah. It's
really?
That's the one that that's the one I feel like I always hit too soft. And kind of just got up over it and was like, well, if it works here, I'm kind of good to go. And so I just I kept my head down. I didn't look and made a good putt. And that was, I feel like, the start of being able to really commit to what I did the rest of the year. So when I look back, it shouldn't matter whether I made that putt or not, but looking back, I mean, that was a step for me. It was a big step in learning to trust what I thought was right.
Interesting.
and kind of refining that through the end of the year.
So for somebody that is listening to this that struggle with their own, whether it's putting, chipping, ball striking, what advice would you give that person about how they're able to kind of build in the confidence bucket, with just a 4-footer that you remember back in March, like, you wouldn't think it's much, but how are you able to build on that with more putts that you feel like, can, continue to give yourself confidence, but also, not being negative about the ones you miss and thinking about it. Like, how do you flush it?
That's the holy grail of putting in particular, I think, is understanding that you can do everything right and read it correctly and execute well, and it's just not up to you. All that stuff is, but whether or not it actually goes in is not necessarily up to you. On the short ones, it kind of is, but once you get outside of 6, 8, 10 feet, stuff just happens.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it starts just in practice, knowing that you're doing what you intend. And if you're able to kind of keep that mindset of, hey, I prepared and I went through my process and executed as best I can, that's really all you can do. I mean, and it sounds so simple, but it's just the hardest thing to do because you just get so wrapped up. You care so much about whether the results match what you feel like you did.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, that's the holy grail of putting to me, is just if you can know that your mechanics are where you want them to be and commit to executing the best you can, you have to let go of what happens. And I feel like I got better and better at that as the year went on.
Yeah.
And I think it does allow you to kind of enter a better state, because I remember, especially late in the year, I'd had some really good putting weeks, and I remember hitting some putts that I missed, that I would look at my caddy and just say, I hit such a good putt. Like, I don't care where that went. Because I know that if I hit that putt again, I'm going to read some of them correctly and some of them are going to go in. And that was kind of where I feel like I made the jump from, like, I've putted pretty well most of this year to, like, hey, maybe I'm just good at this. I can hit a good putt and be okay with missing it, and take some confidence into the next one, knowing that I've just executed a really good putt and I can do it again. So I think that's kind of the shift that has happened over the course of this year.
Well, it's such good advice. And as you go throughout this 2025 season, you started to kind of build throughout the summer until you got to that Wyndham Championship. And I thought it was interesting, going back and reading the transcripts that week. I remember that there was some type of change, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was. And I'd read that you had switched to a different golf ball that Tuesday. So what did you find in this golf ball that kind of helped you, whether it be with your ball striking or something that you saw with your eye that you're like, okay, I can play my tight draw and everything's going to be, whether it be hitting my numbers more with my irons. I just remember your par 3 play that particular week, which is stupid, man. You just made 2s every time you got to those par 3s.
Yeah, no, it was entirely a spin control, distance control thing. So for me, I hit the ball pretty hard. I hit down it a lot. I do create a lot of spin.
How many degrees down do you hit on it?
I don't know, a lot. Probably like 8 with a wedge.
Oh, really?
9.
Wow.
I don't really know. But it just is one of those things I've always struggled with. I get a back pin on greens that aren't firm. What do? I've got to hit 9-iron from 135 yards to try to keep it back there. And making this switch, Sedgefield is, a lot of the greens are sloped violently back to front.
Mm-hmm.
It's not particularly firm. The greens are very fast. So it's kind of a perfect storm for me to struggle. But we made the switch, and I literally just watched the ball basically like plop where it was landing. I could hit a gap wedge to a back pin and it would just stop there. It wouldn't rip back.
Wow. So it's a firmer golf ball is what you basically switched into.
It's not necessarily firmer. I don't know the science.
Okay. But you just, it wasn't ripping.
It feels
all
correct. It wasn't spinning back. It wasn't, and with that, the added benefit. So it basically is meant to, the peak of the flight, it turns back down as opposed to like peaking up. So it turns the last bit of up into forward.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
But I remember being 16 in high school, being in my school uniform, long pants and a tie, and I deadlifted 200 kgs, so that's 440 pounds. So yeah, so that was I actually have a video of it, so it might get leaked somewhere. Someone might be able to find that one.
We might need to get that one to B-roll the show with.
The Smylie Show, only on SportsGrid.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, and this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
How could you tell the story of baseball without Clemens, Rose, and Bonds? You don't have a Hall of Fame if you don't have those three dudes. Sills, you know what, man? These guys took steroids. There wasn't a steroid test and a PED test in Major League Baseball at the time. Do you understand this?
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
How nice was it to finally get that win and not to hear us say, it's going to be eventually time. This guy's going to win on the PGA Tour. How refreshing is it that you never have to hear those words spoken again, dude? Because it's always something that's asked to us as analysts. I'm like, it's going to come. It's going to come. But it's something that we always talk about because we know how talented you are. But it's got to be internally frustrating. Like, they just shut up and just let me get this win and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. No, I there were definitely times where I felt that way, but it's I mean, it saves me a question per interview. It's a good one to not have to answer anymore.
That's great, man. And of course, like at that point, after that Wyndham Championship, heading in the middle of the summer, you were definitely on the outside looking in on that Ryder Cup team. And the way you played that summer, I was like, man, he kind of seems like a guy you can't leave off this team. Then you win at the Wyndham Championship. You have a great playoff run where you end up getting really close to the Tour Championship, I believe finishing fourth place. And still, you never really know. So how tough was it, waiting to get that call from Keegan, knowing how important it was for you to play for that Ryder Cup team? And then also, of course, I mean, it's at Bethpage in New York where you won the New York State Open as an amateur. So you just, I imagine just the anxiety waiting on that phone call was at an all-time high.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly a once in a lifetime opportunity, in particular for me being from that area. I'm never going to get that again. I don't know when the next Ryder Cup could even possibly be in New York, but my guess is I will barely still be standing. So
you're gonna be captaining.
I don't know about that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was on my mind, and we kind of reevaluated after Augusta. I played some awful golf at the beginning of the year, and we just said, okay, where are we going? And my answer was the first tee at the Ryder Cup on Friday. And which I was, God knows where in the points. I was like 80th in the FedEx Cup probably by the end of April.
Long way to go.
Yeah. So, and I mean, genuinely felt like, why am I even thinking about that? But yeah, I mean, things started looking up kind of the beginning of May. It really started then. I played well at the Truist, and then I actually played well at the PGA Championship as well. I just happened to be deathly ill. So kind of turned like a week that I felt like I was playing good into a 50th just because I could hardly keep my head off the ground. But yeah, from there, I mean, I had a lot of good golf that I played, and then obviously kind of culminates in winning at Sedgefield in the Wyndham
Yeah.
Championship. And, you know, I had spoken with Keegan about the Ryder Cup about a year prior to that, kind of as soon as he knew he was the captain. I sat with him for a while one day and just obviously expressed my desire to be on the team. And there was, with no real pretense of anything, I just said, you know, obviously this is a dream for me. It's New York and I want to make that team. I don't want you to have to pick me. But, you know, win at the Wyndham Championship, and really all he said was, you know, congrats, I'm proud of you. But I got to see a lot more than that. And I was like, fair enough.
Okay.
So I feel like I was really grateful for that. Even right away, because it just made it so clear to me what I needed to do.
Keep going.
And then, finished fifth at St. Jude, and literally said the exact same thing, which was, I was fine with. It's like, okay, I'm playing good. At least I know I have the opportunity. It's right here in front of me.
Yeah.
It's just up to me to play some good golf. And, you know, then I made an 8 or something, the last hole of the first round of the BMW Championship. And I was like, okay, maybe that was it there. And found my way back to 11th, and then played great at East Lake. And like you said, I mean, there is some anxiety involved waiting for that call. But at that time, off of that little 4-week run that I just had, I was pretty at peace with whatever happened. You know, obviously I desperately wanted to be on the team, but I couldn't have asked much more of myself for those 4 weeks. You know, I would have loved to play a little bit better here and there, but all in all, if you had said that I was going to even have a chance to be in the question in April or in May, I would have told you were nuts. So I was just grateful to be in that position where my name was even in the hat, you know? So obviously it worked out great, and I'm extremely grateful to Keegan for giving me that opportunity. I know it's a difficult situation for him. He, you know, had by every means a good enough couple years to be on that team himself. And I understand in some ways, I don't know exactly how everything was, but to some extent it feels like it could have been either me or him. And for him to give me that opportunity, you know, in my home state, is really special to me, and I'm extremely grateful to him for that.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about just being at peace after that great 4-week run. And people ask me all the time, Cam, like, what do you miss the most about professional golf? And it's like, well, you know, I miss competition. Of course, like you make a lot of money, so it's nice to be able to provide for your family. But the thing I really miss the most is being able to set a goal, run through my processes, and then also go in and feel like I completed those challenges. Like I checked these boxes off, and regardless if I win or not, like this is why I do this. It's the active part of going to try to accomplish something you set out. So like for you to getting that call, it's like, hey, this is cherry on top. Now I'm at Bethpage. It's like, that's why most athletes, they just love, if you don't like the process, like you're not going to be in what you do for a very long time.
Yeah. I think that's true. I mean, and those moments of peace are so few and far between, at least for me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but there's just not often that you kind of sit down and you're like, okay, you know, I've done what I can do, and you know, this is a good place to be.
Yeah.
So I just feel like those are rare, and I didn't have it at all after the Wyndham Championship. I mean, I would have loved to sit back and say, I didn't even like give my dad a hug until 2 mornings later. He was like, hey, what you did last week was pretty good. And I was like, no.
Yeah, you almost forgot about it. It's like, I keep going.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't have it at all because there were 2 more jobs at hand. I needed to get to East Lake to have any chance of making the Ryder Cup team, and those were the things that I had to do.
Yeah.
So I think after 4 weeks of just going through it, and you know, those weeks are difficult. There's obviously a lot at stake. It also happens to be really hot all 4 of those weeks. Dude, so it's a physical battle. And
dying
to kind of
weeks.
Marshall's a tough environment, though. Marshall's that sneaky road trip, in my opinion, And this has been like a decade long that Marshall's been fire at home and terrible on the road. That's a dangerous road game, but if you look at, there's no return game with Kent State. There's no return game with Akron. Maybe when they go to UMass with Frank Martin being such a good coach, he could really take teams out of their rhythm. But I think there's a case that they could be undefeated in the regular season.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
If there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
His wife and his kids were like, I kind of like this. This kind of works out for me. Daddy's a celebrity again, so I get access to things. Daddy's making money again. Hadn't made a nickel in the last 5 years. Now he's made a lot of money, so I'm sure they're good.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, the prospect of Daddy being away, like he ain't cheating on you in Buffalo, I can tell you that. I live there.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
All right, Lizard's advice. That's a pretty good little combo there. And we're going to stay on this theme for a few questions here because number 6, I was watching a video last year during your practice round at the Genesis. And I don't know if it was Henry or John, but one of the two of them was rocking an incredible pair of cowboy boots. And I just want to know if you have a matching pair. Like, do we have cowboy boots for the whole family? Just, okay, all right.
No, I wish. Yeah, he looks good in those. He at the time he had a pretty good mullet going in the cowboy boots. But yeah, that's a staple in our house for sure. They've actually got matching pairs right now, so the two of them will go out there.
Love that.
Dressed in whatever else and kind of get themselves all muddy.
Fantastic vibe. Okay, so number 7. Last year at the Masters, I remember Rory sitting up at the podium heading into the final round. Maybe it was after a Saturday round, talking about watching Zootopia with Poppy before the final round. And so we will admit from time to time on the show, the movies which we pretend like we're watching for the kids, we really enjoy them. And I want to know if you have like a movie or two that you secretly enjoy watching with the kids.
Yeah, we've tried really hard not to let them watch much. But the one thing that they watched a decent bit of was last year in Hawaii. We basically had one hotel room for all 5 of us. So we were trying to find stuff to do at night, and we watched the better part of the entirety of Planet Earth in that week.
Yes.
And just because we felt like it kind of wasn't as stimulating, it's a little bit more relaxed and trying to get them just to fall asleep without fighting us. And it's great. I think it's really entertaining. And they were just at ages where it's fun, and they're excited. They think that whales are fish. Then they just shout fish and bird and whatever. So it's entertaining for everybody.
We're a big Blue Planet household, so I like that. I like that a lot. It's great vibe.
I turn on Beauty and the Beast for just fun now.
We just read the other day. They love the Disney books. It's crazy, and they're a little too long for me. It's 100 pages. That stretches the limits of my reading, but they love that kind of stuff.
All right, so number 8. So my 3-year-old Walker loves playing golf, but wants nothing to do with my swing tips. And so knowing that your dad was a pro, right? I want to know, go back to your childhood, the swing tip your dad gave you as a kid that you least wanted to hear.
Oh, for sure. He always wanted my right leg. I used to kind of sway out onto the outside of my right leg a lot. And I always just felt like from there I could hit it farther. And he said, no, if you like make that right leg really solid to where you never get outside of it on the outside part of the foot, it's going to be more consistent and you're going to hit it harder. And I hated practicing that. I hated it.
Trying to drop
But
bombs,
now,
Dad.
I was. But
That's
that one
fantastic.
really has stuck with me.
Okay, the 9th and final of the E9 here, Cam. I got some intel here that you're quite the chef. Okay, so we're on some big cooking show. Okay, and we need you to whip up your best dish. What are you making?
Best, man. I don't know where you got that intel from. It's really unimpressive. I make a lot of fried rice, really simple, just like rice, beef, eggs, onions, that kind of thing. If I had to make something, make a decent like creamy pesto sauce for some pasta and a steak. That's one of my favorite things. I don't make it often, but it's pretty good.
I'm good at reheating nuggets, so you're a lot further along than I am. So that is the E9, Cam. You're good to take the time to do it. And Smylie, let's wrap this thing up.
Thank you. Actually, the match was tied after 9 holes. I have a bonus question.
Okay.
What's your favorite hole at Sleepy Hollow? I just need to have that in my brain here.
Wow. There's a few. The redesign of number 8, I think, is really cool. I love.
Is that the
8
par
kinda
3 down the
through
hill?
the chute. No, that's 10. It's like a 500-yard hole, and it's kind of got a green that goes around a bunker and has that like left tier to it.
Yes.
That's a really cool hole. I really like what they do with 14 on those big humps through the middle. 16 is, one of the prettiest holes in the world. So that's up there too. It's hard to pick one, but I mean, from a golf standpoint, maybe 8, and from a view standpoint, 16 is unmatched.
What's the par 5 double leg right around the corner where you can hit it on top of that
6.
tier? Okay, was that the hole that you got outside your brace on to try to hit it on top of the wedge there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Big healer into the woods that was my classic one.
Well, I got that shot too. I still got that shot today, Cam. Man, this has been awesome. Quick update: where are you playing coming up, so we know where to look out for you?
Yeah, I'm playing next week at the Farmers in San Diego. I'm actually starting 4 in a row, so I'm going to play Farmers, Phoenix, Kabul, and LA.
All right, buddy. Well, Cam, this has been a great conversation. It's so fun to look back all the way back to when you turned pro and to where you are now. So much has happened and so much that's been so good. So thank you for taking the time today. It's been a lot of fun. Look forward to reading you on here in the next 4 weeks.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our local fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too. So please keep it up.
Giannis Antetokounmpo's next team. Who would thought we'd ever be saying that? The guy should be minted in Milwaukee and never want to leave. The only problem is they can't surround him with the talent that he wants. Stays with Milwaukee or retires. He's actually trading at a 71% chance here. The favorite outside of Milwaukee, it's the New York Knicks at 15%.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
Stacking up wins to avoid a brutal matchup path, and when Giannis gets back full burst, they got to get him back on the floor and back on the floor healthy. The Bucks season won't be defined by the games Giannis misses. It'll be defined whether Milwaukee protects him from himself and gets him back in April if he's still a part of the team.
Pro basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
ESPN are not going to take shots or criticize him. People on Fox are not going to take shots and criticize him. But McVay had a bad game. Sean Payton had a bad game. And that's just a fact. Like, when they go back and review what took place in key spots of that game, Sean Payton cost the Broncos points and Sean McVay cost the Rams points. Those are the first 2 people that should be blamed.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.